Hey guys, how are you? Welcome to Power of 1 Million. So we have Ankur Nagpal coming today. He is the founder of Teachable, but he's coming in a couple of minutes. So let's give everybody a couple of seconds to come on in. Welcome. I would say that you guys are on your lunch break, but some of us are at home, right? Because of what's happened with the coronavirus. At the time of this recording, it is March 18th, and the coronavirus is real and has a lot of people sitting at home. So y'all tell me, are you at home or are you at work today? In the chat. Hey. Hey guys, I see you coming on in. Welcome, welcome. Tiffany says, yes, working from home. Nice. Hello. What about the rest of you guys? You guys at home today? Or are you in the office? Nice. I see Alana's at home. Sharon's at home. Most of us are teleworking. Yes. Home. What's up? Hey, Tariq. How are you? Have to be to work at 3 p.m. All right. Well, at least you have a job. That's key. I'm working from clinic, home. Wonderful. Typically work from home anyway. Well, that's nice. Yep. Having a work from anywhere job is nice. Ajari says, job messed up and let me see what working from home is really like. See, that's what we're talking about, this mindset shift. Hey, Uncle, how are you? Welcome. Working from home, at home, being the teacher, principal, janitor, mom, businesswoman, cafeteria lady, etc. Yes, Ashley, you are so right. I have a lot of my entrepreneur friends that are like, man, working from home with kids is different.
Yeah, we just started working from home about a week ago, so we just became a remote company, and I'm telling you, it is hard.
See?
Yeah.
But you know what was crazy, Uncle? I feel like we're prepared for this. Like, especially if you have an online course from Teachable, I feel like we're a little bit more prepared because our business can still flow versus some other people. Like, they're having to like figure it all out. So it's kind of cool. I'm really excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, I'm stoked to be here.
Welcome. Well, now that you are here, let's officially get started. So, hey guys, welcome to the Power of 1 Million webinar series. You guys know that we are going to start with a little introduction, and then I am so excited to talk to Ankur today. This is going to be absolutely amazing. So, just to give you guys a little overview, my name is Terry Gioma, and I'm the founder of invest $1 million in a day. So we have $1 million a day movement going right now that we're trying to implement. And what's crazy though, y'all, is like it's happening. So every single day we have students that are reporting their wins and they're making thousands of dollars, even in the market right now. Like I had a student just yesterday that was like, Terry, guess what? I made $1,200 today, and the market had gone down like 3,000 points. And I was like, really? And she's like, yeah, I did it. So excited. And because of that, because of our $1,000 in a day goal and our $1 million a day goal, we wanted to introduce you guys to people that had reached 1 million, just so you can see like what that looks like. How do you even imagine or attain 1 million of anything? And so that's why we started this webinar series. And I am so excited once again to welcome Ankur. Am I saying your name right? I want to make sure I'm saying it right.
You're saying it great. Terry, I'm so excited to be here. So for those of you that don't know, Terry introduced herself in her way, but she's also, I run a company called Teachable. We help people create and sell online classes. And Terry is one of our rock star creators. I'm going to embarrass you a little bit, but we had a challenge last summer to see which creator could sort of do the best over that period. And Terry crushed it. She came number 1 and number 2. There was such a big difference between number 1 and number 2. So Terry's amazing. I'm glad to help support you in any way at all I can. And I'm very excited to be here and meet all 120, 150 of y'all in chat right now. So let's make this happen.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay, random thing. So look behind me.
Oh yeah.
I actually have my award.
Nice. That's awesome.
I know. Wait, can y'all even see it?
Yeah.
So as Ankur was saying, there was a Teachable challenge. I don't even know if y'all could see it in the thing, but yeah, he's right. I won.
Yeah.
And then thank you guys so much for
Yep.
this. This was wonderful.
Yeah. But yeah, super excited to, help support and kind of tell our story. I saw on your website you had 500 under my name. I want to clarify to everyone, I have not made $500 million. That is what our creators on the Teachable platform have made.
So how about this? Okay, let's start by, let's have you introduce yourself and then
Cool.
have you made at least 1 million? 1 million?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
then let's start there.
What if I'd said no? Would I be disqualified from this?
Yeah, I'd be like, dang, we got to get you off the phone now.
Yeah.
So tell us a little about who you are and how you made your first million.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, my name is Ankur Nagpal. I'm the founder of a company called Teachable. I've been running Teachable now for about 6 years, and actually a couple of days ago we announced that we sold the company, so that was big news. But going back to sort of the story of how I got started, I actually I'm originally Indian, but I grew up in a small country called Oman in the Middle East. I moved to America when I was 17 years old to go to college. That was always like my parents' dream, come to the United States, study over here. And I did that. And I came here in 2006. I think it was in 2007. For people that remember, Facebook was just coming out. I was in college and Facebook was this new thing at the time. And I started building applications on Facebook. It was really almost like this pretty silly, trivial stuff, like all these personality quizzes and friend quizzes. And like you answer a bunch of questions. It tells you which friend's character you are, all of that stuff. But I basically ran that business out of my dorm room for the next 3 years. And sort of that got me to the $1 million mark by the time I turned 21 years old.
Wait, what? So you were a millionaire by 21?
I was, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was weird, right? Because on the one hand, I was new in the country, I had no one, I had no family here, was sort of, starting a business from scratch. But I was very fortunate in that I found this sort of thing that worked. And I think it was the case of just being in the right place in the right time. As much as I'd like to take credit, I think it was just like, sometimes you just land up in the right place, and that certainly worked out for me.
Now you got to tell us now, what did you feel when this was happening? You're over here balling out of control in your dorm room.
I mean, there were steps to it, right? It's not like you go straight from like nothing to like all of that. The most exciting moment still was, I remember I created a Facebook application, the first one ever. It was called Dwight Schrute Quotes. It was quotes from Dwight from The Office. And I sold that application for $500. And that $500 like meant more than anything that came after that. Because that was the first time I realized I did not have to like trade my time for money. I was no longer like making this transaction where I give you time and I get paid for it. And that sort of just blew my entire world. In a lot of ways, I would say that almost made me unemployable. Like after that, I was just like, I could, maybe I don't need to have a job. And all this was happening when I was interning actually. And halfway through, I just started showing up to work less. I just became a bad employee as a result of this. But it worked out. So, I mean, yes, getting to the $1 million mark was cool. But for me, look, I was 18 years old. Getting money, like beer money, was significant. It was all those smaller milestones that meant a lot to me, because for me, it was never about the money. It was about like the freedom. And in this case, this bought me two different freedoms. First, it bought me the freedom to, sort of spend money on smaller things, but things that, I would otherwise have felt guilty about when my parents were financially supporting me. And the second thing is, again, going back to the financial support part, I could then pay for college, which my parents would have, which in turn allowed me to do things like not go to class. I was too guilty to not go to class before. I was like, my parents are paying for this. Like, I can't like do what I want to. When I was paying for it, I'm like, fine, I don't have to go to class now. This is my expense. So it got rid of a lot of like almost like family parental guilt I had. Like my parents worked really, really hard to financially support me, and that meant a lot to me. But that was this like undercurrent of guilt, even though it was not their intent. Like they were never trying to make me feel guilty, but I was like, wow, they've sacrificed so much for me. So so the money was significant to me, and it bought me that independence where it became less about like their financial support, and it freed me up in a lot of ways to do what I wanted to.
Wow. Now, sometimes when we start making money, we feel obligated to then take care of our families. Like, did you feel that way?
For me, it's not obligation. For me, it's the best part of making money, to be completely candid. Like I feel like, I don't know, like I think I have a relatively simple life, but I feel like being able to like give back to and for me, family, it's like close family, right? My parents and so forth. To me, that is a privilege, not an obligation. To me, like that's the best part. The best part is being able to like do nice things for people you care about. So I look at that as a pro rather than a con.
That's well, no, okay, now tell me this though.
Yeah,
Did you have to grow into that mindset or has it always been that way? Like when you were 16, 17, did you still feel that way or
I
has it been
I
a journey?
I mean, again, like, and I'm gonna draw a line between like immediate family, right? Like when I'm doing this, I'm talking about my parents and my brother primarily. And for that, it's always been. I mean, they've taken care of me their entire life. So like to me, I always feel like no matter what I do, it'll never be enough in terms of like what I could give back to them. With that said, I mean, there's a whole other thing in that, them, everyone having their own pride and ego and like not wanting that. So it's always sort of that balance.
Man.
Yeah,
Now, okay, now sometimes, so we talk a lot about mindsets on here, and I'm
yeah,
wondering what kind of mindsets do you feel like you had? And we'll keep
yeah,
going. We'll talk about like you've
yeah,
grown since then,
yeah.
right?
Yep,
Like,
yep.
so what kind of mindsets have you had to have to reach the goals that you've reached?
That's a great question. I mean, I think the I think like one thing to catalog is I guess I was fortunate in that all of this happened to me at a pretty young age, and it could have gone in one of two ways. It could have like it could have gone in like the holy shit, you're too young and immature and don't know what to do with it. For whatever reason, I feel like I was more mature then than I am now. Like I feel like my maturity is only like declined. But at that point, I think I was in retrospect, relatively level-headed for someone that was 21 years old, sort of coming into this kind of money. But I didn't really change my lifestyle at all. And I think, just like the people I kept around me were very, 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 very good at bringing me back to earth. And I think that sort of that leveling force made a huge difference because I think ultimately we become who we surround ourselves with. And I've always been very fortunate to surround myself with people that kind of give me shit. And consequently, it sort of kept me in check.
That's so true though. I really do
Yeah.
feel like if we're surrounded by the right people, like that will keep us humble. It will
Yep.
keep you level-headed.
Yep.
Like for me, a lot of the money that I receive, I don't even
Yeah.
touch.
Yeah.
So I
And
basically feel like
yep.
I'm still the same person I was when I was in education because that's
Yep.
how much I live off of.
Yep. Yep. I
Do
think,
you
and
do something similar?
I think that, yeah, and I think what changed for me is like it took away like stress about money. So it was less about what money got me. It was more about what money like made me have to not think about. And I think
Mhm.
that is a valuable part, right? It took away any kind of stress about it, but it didn't like dramatically change my consumption habits or anything. But I just no longer had to like worry about the small stuff. And I think that's sort of what it does, right? Like I think it just in a lot of ways money enables people to be more of what they are, which is why I don't think money inherently makes people bad or good or whatever. It just like multiplies what you already were.
Mm.
And I do believe that. Like if you're someone that kind of was a douchebag without the money's gonna make it worse. It just like multiplies whatever you are.
That's so true. It's part of like your underlying character, right? And
Yep,
then
yep.
like
Like
if you get
yeah,
more money,
if you're a
go
generous
ahead.
person, you'll become more generous. If you're not, like it doesn't like people don't change because of it. It just amplifies.
True. Now tell
Yep.
me this, has so what was your biggest adversity? Do you feel like since then, what's the trajectory been to get you to where you are now?
I think the biggest adversity is almost like you get on this like I don't know what to call it. Like I don't know what it's an achievement treadmill or whatever, but like you always kind of want to do the next thing. Like it's like I'm not specifically good at just chilling out, reflecting, and being like, man, that was cool. Let's like, let's just like bask this all in and enjoy it. For me, it's always like, I think I think in a lot of ways the chase or whatever is more fun than the satisfaction of achieving anything. And it's
Mm.
that sort of treadmill that I'm trying to tell myself, like, get off. It's okay to like just chill out. So for me, my challenges have more been like, kind of, yeah, always trying to seek the next thing versus being like, man, this is good. I should just enjoy this.
Because you just sold a company.
Yeah,
Like,
I just sold a company and like late last night I'm like up trying to like figure out if I want to like start an investment fund and just do random shit instead of chilling out. So yeah. So yeah, that kind of stuff, right? So
oh my gosh. So okay, so let's back up a little bit. So you make your first
yep,
million at
yep,
21,
yep.
and then I don't know if you
And
want to share your
21,
age
yeah,
now, but
absolutely. 21 to 23, I basically did I tried to start a lot of businesses. Pretty much all of them failed. There were some pretty horrible ideas along the way, but lots of, I tried a grocery delivery application with friends, but we never did the hard work and just ordered shit off Amazon for people. So it didn't go very well. People were like, I can go to Amazon myself and do this. Started a business to help people register their name.com. Then ran a somewhat shady company where we registered a lot of celebrities' full names and their lawyers sued us for the names back. We started a lot of like not like businesses that kind of like tried different things, but literally nothing worked. And I got to a point where I was a little bit demotivated because you try a bunch of shit, you put a lot of emotional energy into it, and then it doesn't work. And then you're always thinking to yourself, like, is it not working because I'm not pushing hard enough? Like, should I be pushing harder? Like, is it my lack of effort or whatever? So at the time, I think I was 23 years old, 2 years of no income. I mean, obviously I had enough money in the bank, but it was still like kind of deflate. Like work still gives you purpose, and I didn't have that. So I figured I should just change my environment. So I moved from San Francisco to New York, 23 years old, no better city in the world to be. So after spending the first month of my time in New York, just going out every night, I kind of settled into like, okay, let me try another business. That's when I started doing a little bit of teaching. So I was teaching in person at General Assembly. I taught a couple classes on Udemy online. And that's when I'm like, man, this online education thing is really cool, but it's annoying that I have to go to all these other like platforms in order to like sell because they take all my money. I can't like sell expensive products. It's very limiting. So I built the first version of what did become Teachable as a small side project with a buddy of mine. When I was 23 years old, incorporated the company, when I incorporated the company when I was 24 years old, and then now 6 and something years later, here we are.
Wow.
Yep.
Did you expect it to be as big as it is now?
Nope. I mean, you kind of dream about it, but like I never.
So when you were doing it, like what was your idea of success when you were first starting?
Yeah, absolutely. So to me, I mean, like I'm very motivated when you see something to try and grow that number, right? So for me early on, I was just first really happy that it got like people using it. Like one customer was great. The next month I'm like, how can I have 3 customers? How can I go to 8 customers? So that sort of loop of like trying to keep growing it motivated me for a while. But about 8 or 9 months in, I realized like this was not sustainable because I was doing everything in the company. I built the first version of the website and I'm a horrible engineer. Like I'm like, I should not be doing that. So that's when I was like, okay, I need to do this the right way. Went to California, raised $1 million in venture funding, then hired a team, and then sort of went from like this passion project to actually building a business. And that was a very pivotal point because again, even there, I had all these like fears. Like I basically had convinced myself I was a super flaky person that would not see through a business. So it took me like 2 to 3 months of like just like mentally convincing myself that it's okay to raise money, because if I raise money, that means this is it. This is the business I have to run for the next 5-10 years. It's an obligation to a lot of people. But once I got past that point, I think then I knew I was all in. And since then it's been building a team, growing the business, to taking us to where we are today.
Oh my goodness. And I actually met one of the VCs that you had talked to.
Yeah.
I was so
Who was it?
Her name was Barbara. I'm trying to think her last
Yeah,
name.
I know what you're talking about. We actually did not end up raising money from her but I know what you're talking about. They run Portfolio.
Yeah. So like this is like random for you guys.
Yeah.
I was on a panel and there was a big venture capitalist summit and I was on the panel, one of the panelists on a panel, and I'm talking about how I just won this award of Teachable Creator of the Year. And then the lady next to me is like, "Oh, really? We looked at them." It was like the most crazy thing ever. But let's go back to that point of, you said that you had convinced yourself that you were a flake and that and I can't remember exactly how you said it, but you had convinced yourself that you were a flake and that you kind of like you couldn't do this. So how did you get through that?
So because the data at the point suggested I'd started a new business every month. When I would tell my friends like, oh, I'm doing this, to them would be like, oh, this again. We've heard this narrative like 1,000,000 times. What's it going to be next? So in my mind, I'm like, like every time I get bored of a lot of shit. Like clearly I have like business commitment issues. Like I can't like stick to one thing. So why would this time be any different? So it took me a while to like realize that this time was indeed different. But I probably lost 3 months because I was afraid to raise money behind this, because I just was like, what if I raise money and then I like lose the spark, and then I have like this guilt of having, taken other people's money on something that I myself like might lose interest in. But I think it was 6+ months of doing this and just realizing 6 months in, I'm more excited than ever, that I was
Yeah.
like, you know what, this time is real. And even our first investor, his only question after he decided to invest, he's like, look, I'm in, but I just want to know like that this is your thing, like that this is what you feel excited that you want to do for the next few years. And at that point, I'm like, yep, that's it.
It seems like like you somehow found a passion in it. Or what do you think caused that change? And I'm asking you because I've thought the same
Yeah.
thing. Like I have this course and I'm like, this
Yeah.
is great, but
Yeah.
in a year I'm gonna be bored and want to do
Yeah.
something different. Like,
Yeah.
so what is that thing that you feel like kept you engaged in this one?
Yep. So I can tell you what the answer I'm supposed to say is. It's actually not true in my case. The answer I'm supposed to say is because of my lifelong passion for education and all of that. That's true. I do feel that, but that in itself would not have been enough. Honestly, what kept me going, it's two stages. Initially, it was momentum. It was as simple as like, look, there was traction, and momentum is very motivating. Like the same way I'm sure for you, like just seeing your business grow, that's very motivating. That was part one. Part two, which probably happened a year or two later, is all of a sudden there's a team of people I care deeply about. So at that point, it stops becoming an individualistic pursuit. It becomes a team thing. And then you're like, like you're basically playing for the people you're with. Like you're doing this for everyone you're with in the sense of like community and belonging. So that part was real, but but a lot of other founders talk about how they have this like so much passion for the domain or whatever. For me, it was not that. It was like two stages. First, just like momentum, and then like as soon as it's a team and it's bigger than you, that's a really, really special thing. And for the latter half of the business, or the latter 3/4 of the business, ever since we got, more than just me, that became both easily the most rewarding and significant part of building a business.
You know what? I'm so happy that you said that and we're real transparent, because I think like I've gone through those stages too,
Yeah.
and I'm sure some other people here have, because like for the first year, it was like every day I would check my phone and see like how much money I made. And it was like every day I would like look and like that's what pushed me.
Yeah.
But then I got to a point, especially like when my trading was doing really well, was like, well, the money's just not motivating me anymore. So now what? Do I need to try? Like you kind of go through this little crisis of like, like, do I need to sell the business? Do I need to travel? Like what do I do?
Yeah.
And I think like this power of 1 million and the $1 million a day is the thing that's kind of helping me stay motivated. Like now it's bigger than me. Now like we can create generational wealth. We're creating legacies. Like now I'm kind of interested. Well, what would happen if we're generating $1 million a day?
Yeah.
But like you're right. Like something else has to keep you in that.
Of course, yeah. And it changes at every stage. And again, I just feel at this point so privileged, because I never you never know what the thing is that's going to motivate you in the future. It's a leap of faith that it will be there. But at every point I found something that really excites me about the business.
Man. Now tell me this, who was it? This is going to be a random question, but who would you say is a person who came through for you when nobody else would?
And you're allowed like his parents and all of that stuff too cliched. But I mean I don't know. Yeah. I'm trying to think of like a better answer. But in general, I mean, obviously I would at this point, like parents are always the first, because there've been multiple points when it's been a bit of a leap of faith for them, because they grew up with like college being the thing. I've given them a hard time. I've like threatened to drop out of college a bunch of times, even like when the business for a long time, I only found out in retrospect, my mom was one of the many people that that also kind of thought that when I was trying all these different businesses, it would go nowhere. And at many points, she wanted to sit me down and be like, this is fun and all, but time to get serious. But my dad always kind of kept her at bay, being like, you know what, like, let him do this. Like he kind of took that battle on himself and just shielded me from that whole thing. Because, and I only found this all out later, but he apparently, when he was younger, had always wanted to start a business. That's always what he wanted, but and again, I mean, look, we came from a relatively decent background, but like he was, lower middle class or whatever, where he felt like starting a business was a luxury he could not afford. He felt like he had to take care of his family. So that was too big a financial risk for him. But he worked hard in his career, and he's like, I worked hard so that, my children could do this kind of shit. So like I worked so that he can take this risk and start this business. So you know what? Let him fuck around for a few more years. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But like, so he like took that hit or whatever, like kind of kept my mom at bay. So I would probably have to go with that.
That's good.
Yeah.
Your dad sounds like my grandmother.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
Because my
Yeah.
mom is the person who was always like, "You sure you don't want to get a
Yeah.
job?"
Same.
Like,
Same. Yep. And my dad's like, I worked a job that I probably did that I barely liked, so that you can do your own thing. So
oh, that's so cool.
yeah.
Now, guys, I see some questions coming up on the side. Feel free, like this is a webinar so that we can answer your questions. So you guys put your questions into the chat. I also have on here, if you guys look at offers, I put on a sticker for Teachable has a summit coming up. It's a free summit. So y'all can click that and also just see more of Ankur even after this. But let's see, some of the questions someone said on here, they said, quote by John Maxwell, fail early, fail often, but always fail forward. I love that. And then one of the questions I saw earlier, how do you handle the mental setbacks and failures while pursuing your businesses?
I mean, this is less actionable. This might just be reassuring. It's what I found is it gets easier. Like, not that like you should have like more setbacks and failures are good, but every single year I find that I'm handling it better. And it's not like the failures are getting less bad. In some ways they're getting more bad. But what used to emotionally wreck me when I was younger, now I'm like, I've seen this before and I've gone through it, therefore it will be better. Like I remember both when I was super young and doing the Facebook quizzes, Facebook would keep changing their algorithms. So we would have a business that would be generating a few $1,000s a day and it would go to zero overnight. And that happened maybe 3-4 times. And each time it like devastated me. It like got me to like the emotional point of being like, I don't want to ever do this again. Like nothing is worth it. Just highly dramatic 20-year-old shit. Eventually though, and then the same thing happened at Teachable, generally more with, either people I really liked moving on or people just like, people kind of stuff. And that did and will continue to stress me out. But every single year, just knowing that you've seen this before, you've thought it's the end of the world, yet you've gotten past it in some time, you become resilient just by having done that before. So in terms of how I handle it, like one, it's gotten better. Two, in a very, very practical way, you got to find like what your thing is that helps you zone out. For me, it's like, I don't know, like sport or something, like find your thing that like is your happy place and try and go there.
Now I'm going to ask you some questions, just personal coaching questions. How did you go from doing everything by yourself to having a team? Because I'm in that transition phase and it's kind of tough. Like, how did you do that? Or any advice you'd give for people in that?
So my biggest piece of advice when it comes to building a team is, and this is just because I see people doing the opposite, is don't focus on conventional background. Like one of the things I think we either did well or got really lucky at is we hired a lot of people that might not have come from the right school or had the right degree or worked at the right job. We basically, in the early days, I did not care about it. We hired a lot of people that frankly looked like red flags. But there was some kind of spark about them that sort of made it special. Like our first employee, the person that built the application, he showed up for the interview. I found him on AngelList. He showed up it was a computer science role. He has no computer science training or background. Showed up for the interview about an hour late. He explained that he's like, yeah, sorry, I was up late last night, without offering any further explanation as to why. And the interview was fine, it went okay. I kind of liked him, but I was still like too many red flags. We talked about something in the interview and that intellectually excited him. So the next morning at 4 a.m., I got an email being like, hey, you told me about how you got courses in from Udemy. I built this, just check it out. And was he a little bit of a wild card? Yes. Now 6 years later, he's our CTO and has been in the company.
Oh, wow.
So, and there's lots of these people that we've, the person that basically grew our entire application also came from an unconventional background. So we had all these amazing people coming in from like not typical backgrounds you'd hire, startup people from, but they have built the company. So as a result, like not looking at where people went to school, what they did before and so forth, and just focusing on passion, at least in the early stages. I think that goes really far.
And how
Yep.
have you given up control? Because was that a issue for you at all, or was it easy?
That was an issue for like two things. Like for instance, for like our marketing and our product, I care a lot. For everything else, I'm like, please take away even more control. Like, like I don't like I like a lot of the operation stuff I'm both uniquely bad at, but also don't enjoy. So I'm like, please, like take it all. Product and marketing, it's still a work in progress because I care deeply about those areas. And frankly, I think I probably frustrate my leaders by like kind of micromanaging those, but I'm trying to be a little bit more zen about it. But I think we all have to understand that we will have a hard time delegating, but it's literally the only way this whole thing can ever work.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
did you have to go through like building out systems and all that kind of stuff to make it more efficient, or like did you just get somebody else to do all that stuff?
So I'm horrible at systems. So we do have systems now, but what I've done is like I understand my personality strengths. Like I think I'm like good at creating shit. I think I'm good at like, the small spectrum of things I care about. I'm passionate, will work very hard. The things I won't work hard at them. So I've surrounded myself with people very different from me, people that are very operational, people that are just like good executors. I don't need more idea people around me. It would just be a collapse of it would be anarchy. So just by surrounding myself with all these people that are just amazing operators, giving them the freedom to build systems and just like kind of like not even learning from them, just like admiring them from afar and being like, wow, you're so amazing. How I could not have done this without you.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And then I have a question here. Leslie says, when did you know, or was there a goal that you achieved which indicated to you that you were ready to leave your 9 to 5? Well, did you ever have it? You didn't ever have a 9 to 5, really?
No, I never had a job. But again, what I got lucky with is I did. Funnily enough, the time I started my first business was the only time I did have some form of a 9 to 5, because I started the business when I was interning in Amazon in the summer, where I was working a full day. So
Mm.
I did start a business while having a granted summer internship. But I don't know. My advice to people is, look, it depends on your situation, but for a lot of people, honestly, like, yes, it will take a shit ton of work, but like, if you want to not risk anything, like, we do live in an age where it's possible to start a business on the side. Again, it's a huge amount of work, but it doesn't necessarily have to be all or nothing. You can kind of dabble with entrepreneurship. You can dabble with starting a business, maybe get to a point of making a little bit of money on the side, or maybe $1,000 a day, and
Yes, you can
and
do that.
then and then you can leave your job knowing that like you're being fiscally responsible.
Yeah. Now tell me this, and I have so many questions for you, so I know we're kind of jumping
Yeah,
around, but
yeah.
like, so you've seen thousands of creators. Like, what would you say are the things that make some of them good and versus some of them not successful?
So I'll narrow it to a little bit to like courses specifically, and I'll kind of like talk about what separates like the best selling courses from not. I mean, one of them is audience. I think that's kind of obvious. Is like, do you have an audience of people that care about the thing about you? And your audience can be on Instagram, it can be on YouTube, it could be through a podcast, it could be through writing, it could be through Twitter, it could be through lots of different channels. But like, audience is the first thing. The second thing is what I'm calling your offer, which is like, what is your promise to people? Like, what are
Mm.
you saying your core, like, is it $1,000 a day in trading? But do you have sort of the offer? The third thing is a combination of both those. Is there a good like offer audience fit? Like, do you have the people that like want that? The fourth thing is pricing. Like, are you being sort of smart about pricing? Most people undercharge, so sort of getting your price point
Mm.
right. And the last thing, which is probably the most important, is how many people recommend your course. How many people that actually take your course, or let's say recommend it to other people. But a
Oh my
combination
goodness.
of those five things, basically, and you can be better in some, worse at some. Like, you can have a bigger audience but a less good offer, or just be really good at like optimal pricing strategy or whatever. But the combination of those five things is what separates like the best from the rest.
Oh my goodness. I never thought about that last one, but you're right. You're right. It's about who can refer, like what do your students say, and like how many people are referring you to other people. That's
Yep.
huge.
And that's the thing, right? Like, so every course has an offer, the promise to people. And if you accomplish that promise, people don't shut the hell up about it. They're like, they just don't, like, it's a different thing. And there are challenges because a lot of people, as you know, will buy a course but not take it. So even if your course is really good, you have that. But if people like your course, and they are not going to stop talking about it. So
It's true. And I keep looking this way just because the notes are over here. But
yeah,
for anybody who was wondering what Ankur just said, Deandra just put all of the notes in the
perfect.
chat. So
Yep. Yep.
we're like, everybody's taking notes. They're like,
Yep.
wait, what did he say? Okay, just
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Now, and you said like the different parts of the offer, but what about mindset? Are there certain types of mindsets you see in successful creators or even business owners in general?
Yeah, I mean, one very, very, very big one is a bias towards action. Like, you're better off doing something like that's not optimal faster and getting it out there and iterating from it. So the opposite of that would be sort of being a perfectionist that keeps iterating on their content and never thinking it's good enough to go there. The
Mm,
good thing, the weird slash interesting thing about just us as like humans is, in our mind, like evolutionarily or whatever, we have this fear of failure where we think bad things will happen when we fail. On the internet, like there's basically no penalty to missed shots. You can shoot as much as you want. The more you try stuff, it doesn't matter if you miss. So with that, it just makes sense to keep shooting, right? Like, that's the big thing I've noticed with successful creators versus not. There's a lot of people that don't ever get to that point. They're still sort of in this like analysis paralysis of like what to put out there. Put a lot of shit out there. It doesn't matter what doesn't stick. When something does, that's all that matters.
that's true. We were talking to Abu last week,
Mm-hmm.
Abu Fofana. He has like a
Yep.
power of 1 million.
Yep.
And
Yep.
he actually said the same thing. He's like, you got to keep trying. He's
Yep.
like, just keep trying. And at least you can
Yep.
cross off what you don't
Yeah.
like or
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just keep trying.
Yeah, and it's weird, right? Because like I know that fear of failure, like it's just programmed into us. So just understanding that it actually doesn't matter, especially like in the world we live in today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like all of that stuff came from tribal worlds where, like, we were a tribe and you kind of couldn't mess up because there'd be consequences. There aren't consequences right now.
Yeah. Now, how do you feel selling your baby? Like,
So many things. I feel excited because I know it's the right decision. And I'm energized for the future of the company. It's absolutely like a great outcome for everyone involved. I feel relieved because this is a 6-month process and we sold the company in the week of the biggest stock market crash in history.
right.
um, I feel kind of scared / like I'm giving away a piece of me, and I feel like those will be complicated emotions to process over a period of time. So lots of things. Overall good things, but I think like this is the sort of thing where how I feel today might be different from how I feel a week from now, a month from now, and a year from now. But as of now, I mean, I feel very good knowing that like I have like 100% confidence it's the right decision.
Yeah. Now, will you still be involved in it, or are you about to take like a big vacation?
I don't think anyone can take vacations for a few months now, but no, I'm still running Teachable. I'm working with Hotmart, the Brazilian company, doing the same thing as we are in Brazil. Working with those founders, we're all going to be running the global company together. We're going to have a ton more resources, invest a lot more into the products. I'm very energized by the future. I mean, I'm continuing to run Teachable just with more resources while providing a little bit of financial outcome to everyone involved with the company. So I'm still very, very excited about the future. Nothing actually changes in a lot of ways. Just the only thing that changes is some sort of, I think a little bit of pressure comes off knowing that like, there's some outcome already reached.
And I do want to ask you about that because it seems like you're really passionate about the people that, like your team and the people around you. Like, how did you deal with the pressure of having to, like, you were in charge of their livelihood. How did you deal with that pressure?
So that's the part that I think like I was and I'm worst at. I get very stressed when I have people around me like also facing stress. And like that's the one thing that like I wish I was better at. But like theoretically, like if two people on my leadership team are fighting and are like super mad at each other, or if they're super mad at me, that'll like stress me out. And that's a thing that like frankly I should probably learn from other people how to be better at that. So and again, that's one of the few things year over year it's gotten a little bit easier just because you get better at it. But that kind of discord between people, I find like to be supremely stressful, more stressful than like missing revenue numbers, more stressful than like not hitting growth targets. So yeah, I should not be the one telling other people how to deal with that, because I don't know.
You're like, that one is not me. I'm
Yeah,
still struggling.
yeah. So,
Have you gotten a therapist yet? That seems to
yeah,
be the thing that is the big encouragement. Like, I need to talk to a
I
therapist.
know. And in New York, it's so trendy to get a therapist too. And I probably will at some point. It's just, it feels like it's probably important, but it does not feel urgent. There's also this whole like immigrant mentality again that's like so anti-therapy. Like my parents are like, why would you do that? What's the point? So it's just like this immigrant sensibility is so off, and it's so different from like the New York sensibility. So
Did your parents move here, or are they still in the
nope,
Middle East
my
or in
parents are
India?
still so they're Indian, but they're living in Oman in the Middle East, but they're going to retire soon and go back to India. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, let me check out some of these questions over here. So, Carolina says that you're surrounded by good people.
JP and Mateus are good. They're the Hotmart founders.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
Lori says, do you believe the latest events will only increase the value of what the company offers?
I mean, like the short answer is I think online education and online classes are the future. I think the latest events might accelerate that trend a little bit, but like I think it's inevitable that like online classes are the thing. And it feels weird to like to like look at the latest event as a catalyst, but it'll just make what was already going to happen a little bit faster potentially.
And then in terms of like what you're doing next, I know you were saying you like set up and we're thinking through it. Do you have any ideas of like where you want to be?
So
I know
I think the whole idea of like online classes and online education and helping creators earn a living is going to keep growing. And I think we're in a really fortunate position with this transaction to be able to like double, quadruple, 10x those numbers. So that's still sort of the plan for now. I think we're in a really, really good place for that. So right now, kind of keep doing that.
I don't know if you can share this, but what are some ideas that you have for how to improve online learning? Because like even for me, I'm like, oh, that'd be awesome.
So I'll tell you one of them. I'll tell you the problem. I don't know the solution yet, but I do think like, look, right now as humans, what have we decided? We've decided the best form of online classes is taking recorded videos. And like, like I just feel like in the next 10 years, we'll find a way to truly use the internet as an education medium. I think right now what we're doing is we're taking old mediums like DVDs and recorded video and putting it with new technology. I think eventually there'll be new mediums that rise with the new technology. I don't even know what they are, but I think like as humans, we can figure out sort of more immersive learning experiences. So I think that's sort of one big category of stuff. The second big category is I think more teachers equal to better outcomes, because I think for a lot of people, it's about like learning from someone that kind of who you resonate with. It's not about necessarily learning from, like right now a lot of education is like, oh, let me learn from the best so and so. And I think eventually when you have more people teaching, you start learning from people whose story resonates with you. And like we've seen this so often, right? Like I mean, I see masterclass now, and yes, like I can learn basketball from Steph Curry, but like as a skinny Indian dude, like that's not really that's not going to help me. I need to learn from someone that, so like multiply that across every single thing you learn. Like there's like more teachers equal to just like, better outcomes for everyone. Thirdly, I think, the way people or what people teach, like right now courses look a very specific way. But the course also, in my mind, doesn't mean too much as a word, because people can put anything together and call it a course. And I think sort of that multiplying by a lot more with people selling information in just different ways. Like China is doing a lot of interesting things where you can buy books by the pages, podcasts are paid over there. There's all these really, really fascinating ways people are monetizing knowledge, and we're not doing any of that over here. So.
I haven't even thought about that. Are there some like companies overseas that are like really killing it in this same education space?
Yeah. So I can find there. If you look up a video by Connie Chan, ConnieChan, she works at Andreessen Horowitz, and she does this really cool presentation talking about the creator and knowledge economy in China. And it's fascinating. They're so much further ahead because of like micropayments and being able to like just like sell information in so many weird ways. And they have so many school teachers there making millions of dollars a year sort of teaching curriculums and stuff. It's fascinating.
Oh man, I'm
Yeah,
sure every teacher on here,
yeah,
especially the
yeah,
ones working from home right now, are like,
yeah,
okay, let me figure this out.
yeah,
Let me
yeah.
be.
And it's a matter of time. I mean, well, like we're starting to see that over here, but I think we're at the ground floor of this movement. So
That's so cool. Now I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, just going back to like us getting to know you, because I feel like
yeah,
this is something
yeah,
that's priceless. Like nobody ever
yeah,
gets to just sit down
yeah,
and talk to
yeah,
you. And
yeah,
now that you're even like going into
yeah,
something bigger, your
yeah.
time is probably even more busy.
Oh
So
no, we're all working from home forever now, so I have nothing for time.
true. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, yeah.
So okay, what else are you passionate about? So you said a little earlier that education wasn't the number one passion. Like what other things are you passionate
So
about?
I grew up playing the sport of cricket, which is not very well known in America, but like growing up, that's all I cared about. I wanted to play internationally. I'm still a cricket tragic. So I grew up playing. I grew up like I thought I wanted to do that, was never quite good enough. So yeah, I'm passionate about cricket, passionate about just sport and being physically active. Like people make fun of me, but that's what I'm scared about this whole situation is if I can't walk, I like cease to function. Like even if I'm on a phone call, I will like pace 1,000 rounds like in a tiny room. But just like any kind of physical activity in sport, I think is really, really a big part of my identity.
Do
Um, Go
do
ahead.
you think you'll always be in New York or you want to live somewhere else?
Uh, I will live somewhere else at some point. I mean, I am passionate. Well, I took a solo travel trip last summer, and I was a little nervous going into it, to be honest, just because I'm like, I don't know I'd never traveled alone. Like, I always feel like I need people. What's that going to be? And in both good and worrying news, it's that I enjoyed it probably too much. I'm like, wow, why should I ever travel with people again? This is great. I can do whatever I want, however I want. But I I was fortunate enough to travel a good amount growing up because my mom worked for British Airways and still does, so our
Oh,
flights were
cool.
always like under yeah that. But I
Can I
think
get
living in
a
yeah
bag? I'm just saying. If I could just
yeah
get no, just
yeah
like
yeah. But I don't know, living in America, and at this point I'm an American citizen. I like it's very easy to have a very American centric view to the world. um and I want to live outside the country a little bit more because it's very easy to develop into like almost this like myopia where you forget how big a world there is out there. So yes, at some point I would definitely want to do that. At the same time, other things I'm passionate about, like if I ever like do another business way in the future, I want to do something in immigration because I think like as an immigrant myself, I think like talent is distributed all over the world. Opportunity is not. And I don't know what it is because it's a hard system to work with, but there's a lot of like potential there. I mean, I've seen what it means for a lot of people that I went to high school with to be able to immigrate to another country, start a new life. And that's something that's the intersection of both what I think the world needs. Um, so it's a personal passion of mine and like net does good in the world. So
yeah. I agree with you. So like my dad is from Nigeria and
yeah,
there's actually 10 of us, but only two of
yeah,
us are in the US. So the other
yeah,
eight are in Nigeria
yeah, yeah,
of my brothers and sisters.
yeah,
And like right now we've been trying to figure out, well, how do they get a visa or how can they
yeah,
come over here?
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
getting harder and harder. So you're
Getting
right.
harder and harder.
Is just a beast. It's crazy.
Yeah, and like people are so motivated for the opportunity to be able to like it's a very, very powerful motivator. So I definitely think there's something there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm sure some people are like, wait, you have 10? There's 10 of you guys?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my dad is a
Yeah.
papa is a
Do
rolling
you ever
stone.
do you go back?
I do. I
Yeah.
do. I've been back more recently. My grandfather passed in Nigeria,
Yeah.
so I went back for the funeral. I need to go again. And just recently I went to South Africa and I was
Yeah.
supposed to then go up to Nigeria for they have like a social media week,
Mhm.
but I couldn't get my visa fast
Oh,
enough.
yeah.
So
Yep.
I had to come home and
Yeah.
yeah. And we
Yeah.
have I have a Nigerian passport, but then like it's expired. So it became
Uh,
this whole
yeah.
thing. And my
Yeah.
dad was like, no, you don't need to
No.
come.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone posted in chat too that like everyone should spend at least a month somewhere else in the world. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, you really just the scale of the universe is yes, in some ways the world is becoming smaller because of the internet and stuff, but like just like living in other places, I think is very powerful.
I agree. And I also like that idea you talked about with the single travel. Like I
Mhm.
just like I realized when I was in South Africa, my mom and my aunt came with me, and then
Yeah,
my big sister came. But the whole time I was worried about them having a good
yeah,
time.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I couldn't really
yeah,
relax the way I wanted to
yeah.
relax.
But
So
now
you're
I'm scared. What if like now like I like it's what if I you get addicted to the idea of traveling alone? Like I went it was a complete polar opposite going from, oh man, this is gonna be so boring to this is the best. Why would I travel any other way? So
well,
yeah,
soon
yeah,
you
yeah,
won't have
yeah,
a choice. People will be
yeah,
coming anyway.
yeah,
They'll be like,
yeah,
look,
yeah,
we're coming.
yeah, yeah.
Move over.
But that's what you can do when you're traveling alone is that you can sort of at least go from place to place where you can alternate the two, right? So yeah,
That's true.
yep, yep.
Anything else you think that they like? We'll wrap up soon, and
Yeah, if people have any more couple more questions or something,
is there anything else you think people should know about, just in terms of like attaining something bigger than themselves or dreaming bigger? Any thoughts or comments you have?
yeah, I mean, again, this is slightly repetitive, but I do think like just understanding that like we are in like when 500 years from now, people will look back at this time right now and talk about what a special time it was in terms of like a lot of the things we take for granted today. Like I'll give you examples, like the idea of education working the way it did, the idea of the full-time job economy working the way it did. I think 500 years from now, these will be like such weird concepts. And we're sort of at this really interesting point where this is a turning point. And I think it kind of behooves us to seize this opportunity. And whether it's like forming your own business or really finding a way to make all this change work for you, because the change is happening, the change is coming. You can't do anything about it. Your attitude towards this change will determine what happens here. So it does behoove everyone here to kind of think about, like, with the world changing, what does this mean for me? And to me, I think financial independence is a big step. Again, that doesn't necessarily bring meaning, but it does allow you to pursue meaning by at least having that taken care of.
Yeah. And someone asked on here, how do you scale your product or service?
I mean, it's a lot of it is very, very kind of situational on it, but I think it would go back to the 5 things I mentioned before, right? Your audience, you can have a bigger audience, you can keep growing your audience, which will scale your business. Your offer, can you improve your offer? Can you improve your audience offer fit? Can you move up in price? Very often it's the simplest one. And finally, can you get more people to the outcome? But it's really those like I wouldn't complicate anything much more than that. I mean, yes, eventually if you scale it up, if you find operations and people to run stuff, but those five things are what will determine a 6-figure, 7-figure, or 8-figure launch, for instance. Well, we have only one 8-figure creator, but yeah.
I'm coming for that person.
Coming for it. They're coming for it. They're coming for it. Absolutely. Yep.
That's the next goal.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. No, 9 figures. Why stop there? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, somebody is an 8-figure creator.
Oh, 8-figure. Yep. Yeah. They're killing it.
Isn't that $1 billion?
No. That's tens of millions. 7 figures is a million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, because I was like,
yeah.
really?
Yeah. No, tens of. Though with that said, their business in general is at the hundreds of millions, but the courses part is the tens. Still massive. Yep.
That is so cool.
Crazy.
I just love seeing that. That's just inspiration for me. Like, I'm like, okay, now what's the next level? Okay.
Yeah.
We're at 8. Okay, then we're moving to 8. Like, that's the next level.
But again, I would caution from that, because that's how I feel too. But it's, again, very possible to always be on this treadmill where it's never good enough. So
that is true.
Yeah.
And we've got to find some way where we can just be content with where we are.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I love that. And then I did want to just say thank you, because I know that it hasn't been easy. And guys, I see some more questions on here, but I just want to say, like, I know for you, like, it hasn't always been easy to do all the things that you've done. But like, I'm so thankful that you started Teachable, because without you taking your steps, like, I couldn't take my steps. And then the students in my program couldn't take their steps. So I just thank you.
I mean, look, like, the feeling is more than mutual. We all are very appreciative for you. Our team loves you. You probably know this, but you're a favorite in our team. You're on our podcast too. Everyone loves Terry. So yeah, it's been great having you. And I still think, I mean, you've accomplished a lot, and we've worked together a lot. But we're gonna look back even on this interview and this moment in time, and this is gonna be like the beginning. There's so much more to come. There's so much more to come from you, and I'm very excited to see that.
Oh, thank you so much. I so appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now, okay, now where can they find you if they're looking for you, or what can they look for?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we're at teachable.com. We're on Instagram as Teachable. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. All the usual places.
Yeah. And I put on there,
So,
y'all, there's the whole conference. If you all are
yep,
interested in courses, or I just
yep,
think it's cool to hear
yep.
from people that are killing
I'll
it.
type the yeah. I'll enter the link to our event. We're hosting 3 days next week. 3 separate days. One is for content creators. One is for freelancers. The other one is for coaches. But just helping people. Actually, use Terry's link. Don't use mine. Helping people helping people start their business. So
Yes. Oh, this is
yep.
so
Someone
cool.
asked the name of the podcast. There's a Everything is Teachable podcast. There's a great episode with Terry. I highly recommend y'all listen to it.
I think I was in the first season too. So y'all like look back to the
Yeah.
beginning and then
Yeah.
listen to all of them, especially because
Yeah.
we at home. Ain't nothing else to do like that.
James says Terry's about to be the financial Oprah. What do you mean about to be? Terry is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Yeah.
y'all know, so I think this is James. James is one of my students who actually quit his job recently so he could trade full time. And he's like,
Awesome. Congratulations,
you didn't
James.
even
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. So thank you
Awesome.
guys so much for
Yep.
coming. Thank you, Ankur, for
Yeah.
being
Thank
here.
you.
Appreciate
Thank
you
you. It
so
was a really
much.
good time. All right.
And
Bye.
yes, I'll see you later. Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.
My name is Cynthia Pierre. I've been investing since 2004. First time you make $1,000, it's like, oh wow, this is amazing. But I think the key about it is doing that consistently. And that's what Terry has really brought into my investment journey. So while I was investing, prior to meeting Terry, and I was doing all right, I was losing a lot too. There were some accounts where it was just like, oh, every dollar you put in, you make 3, but you lose 6. What's going on here? So while I was profitable, I wasn't as profitable as I could have been. And Terry really opened my eyes to risk management. In every other aspect of my life, I would hedge my bets or have some type of control to manage risk. But when it came to investing, because I was just like, oh, this is extra money. It's not money I really worked for. It's just something that I made on top of what, I worked for. And Terry came in and was like, yeah, you worked for that money and this might be extra, but it's still money that you're losing. This makes no sense. And what she really brought into my life was this whole idea of you need to manage your risk. While you're making decisions that I would also make in support, you're not managing your risk or your portfolio, and that's why you're losing. So I'm immensely grateful to her because literally managing my risk and portfolio alone, if I didn't even make the gains that I made, I would still be up. And that's a big lesson. So I believe in giving. I'm a religious person. I like to tithe or at least give 10%. So it's quite impactful. There's been people in need that I've been able to just write a check to and not, consider, oh, how am I gonna eat the next day? Or just when causes, there are all kinds of causes around the globe and within our own neighborhoods that need help, and just being able to support those in ways that people are sometimes astonished by is pretty impactful. If you're thinking about working with Terry or even heard about working with Terry, get on board. Get off the sidelines and join the Invest with Terry family.